Hello everybody, this past week I've been playing what could possibly be my new favourite RTS, Cossacks 3. So despite being a numbered sequel, Cossacks 3 is actually more of a HD remake of the original Cossacks European Wars, which released back in November 2000. Now I've never played the original Cossacks game, but it came highly recommended to me by a few friends of mine when I was in school, having just discovered Total War for the first time. I can't really explain why, but I never followed up their recommendations and I basically forgot the game existed until a couple weeks before the release of Cossacks 3. So having tried it out, I'm absolutely loving it so far. However, I feel it's worth mentioning why the game is currently on the verge of mixed reviews on Steam. Many of these reviews are citing crashes and a buggy multiplayer. In fact, multiplayer only got patched in on the day of release, so there's definitely been some development issues going on behind the scenes. I personally have not had one crash yet, but I have played multiplayer with people who have. The game has received several small hotfixes already that fix some teething issues with developer tools and text bugs, and there are some upcoming patch notes for future updates in the works. In my experience so far, the bugs are extremely minor and uninvasive in my 10 hours playtime with the game. I haven't had any crashes, and only one bug has frustrated me, but it can be worked around very easily and only happens in multiplayer. So onto the gameplay. Cossacks 3 is an isometric real-time strategy game where you command a huge numbers of units in massive real-time battles. Having played through the tutorial, I quickly discovered why I like the game so much. It's essentially Age of Empires 2. It's actually alarming how much it is like Age of Empires. The main differences between the two games are, in Cossacks you only advance from the 17th century to the 18th century, you don't advance through the ages. As a result, combat is limited to pike and shot era almost entirely, with naval combat also. So let me take you through the basic game loop. You start with peasants and use them to build a town centre to make more peasants. Units require food, so you build a mill and farm to make more food. To build buildings, you require wood and stone, so you build a storehouse next to wood and stone, and begin working on gathering those. Then you'll build a blacksmith and barracks to train units, university to research technology, a church to make priests, markets to trade, docks for naval, artillery depots for cannons, and towers for defense. Lastly, when you're ready, you progress to the next century and build upgrades and new buildings that were previously locked. Sound familiar? Some interesting differences from Age of Empires is that the resources never run out. It's a massive numbers game. For example, you can put 5 peasants in a gold mine to gather gold, you can then upgrade that mine to fit 5 more in it to gather gold faster, and you can do this several times until you're maxing out the speed of gathering gold. The mine never depletes, you just have to protect it from being captured or destroyed and make sure you can feed the workers inside. The same goes for stone gathering and wood cutting. Other notable differences are that building costs go up for having multiple buildings of the same. You can't spam 10 barracks buildings and constantly recruit from them, as they get exponentially more costly. Some buildings require you to have others as a prerequisite, such as a blacksmith before a barracks or a market before a docks. There's also the neat feature of seeing how many peasants you have gathering a resource at any one time. That just makes resource collecting a lot more efficient. Lastly, units can be placed into regiments. If you have 36, 72 or 120 men of one type, you can assign them an officer and a drummer that will organize their formation and boost their combat skills in battle. This is essential for forming long lines, columns or square formations. However, I do feel like battles still devolve into a mosh once the unit gets engaged. They don't hold formation even if you tell them to stand their ground. Some omissions to the game are the ability to have a town centre bell where peasants retreat to if they're attacked. If a peasant is working on something, you can't tell them to place their resource away before switching to a new task, and the map variety seems less interesting, with never much incentive to explore and find materials unless you're already quite powerful. So that's essentially the game in a nutshell. You can play 8-player multiplayer battles, play the single-player campaign, and create your own scenarios in the editor. The game is on Steam for around $10 or £15, which in my opinion is an excellent price for it. If you do choose to spend extra on the deluxe edition, you'll get 6 extra campaigns and 12 missions with 8 new historical maps and nations to play. Having bought Age of Empires 2 HD Remaster a couple of years ago, I was kind of underwhelmed by it, and it was a lot more expensive. I feel like Cossacks is a lot more playable now because of its updated interface and graphics, so I'm definitely leaning towards that. Anyway, that's all from me. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you're interested in seeing more from Cossacks, let me know, and I'll catch you in the next one.